Have you ever been so broke that you stopped asking questions? That's where I was. Rent was 3 days overdue. My phone had 2 bill collectors and 0 job callbacks. And there I was, scrolling a temp labor board at midnight, desperate enough to click on anything. Then I saw it. No company name, no logo, no apply here button, just plain text. Overnight security, vacant distribution property, 3 nights only, cash paid at end of each shift, must remain on site, no exceptions. And then one final line, the kind that sounds like a lawyer made them add it. Property is monitored. I almost kept scrolling. Almost. But you know what doesn't care how sketchy a job listing looks? Rent. So I wrote down the address, set my alarm, and told myself it was probably just a boring overnight shift watching an empty building. I was half right. The building was empty. But boring? Not even close. What happened over those 3 nights changed the way I see abandoned buildings, security jobs, and late-night listings forever. Stay with me, because this story gets dark fast.
The address took me to an industrial strip on the edge of town. You know the kind of place. Wide, empty roads, loading docks that haven't seen a truck in years, weeds cracking through concrete. The type of area you pass on the highway and forget about 2 minutes later. It always looked half-finished, even though it had been sitting there for decades. I drove slowly down the main road, checking building numbers. Most of the units had no signage at all. A few had padlocked gates and overgrown lots. Then I reached the end, and there it was, the warehouse. No sign, no company name, no branding of any kind. But every single exterior light was blazing. Not just security lights, every fixture, every floodlight, every corner lamp. The entire building was lit up like it was expecting a full work crew to arrive. Harsh, even, deliberate. I parked under one of the lights and sat in my car longer than I meant to. The glow was so flat it removed all shadows. Even the fence line looked staged, like a movie set, like something designed to look normal without quite being it. I sat there and told myself I was overthinking a warehouse. Then I got out of the car.
Mounted beside the front entrance was a lockbox. Realtor style, standard gray box, the kind you see on empty houses for sale. The code from the listing worked on the first try. Inside was 2 things. A plain white key card and a folded sheet of printer paper. I unfolded it, expecting instructions. A supervisor's number. Emergency contacts. A map of the facility. Something. Instead, there was one sentence. 1. Remain inside from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's it. No contact number. No mention of patrols or duties. No list of do's and don'ts. No name. No signature. Just remain inside. I stood there under those lights, turning the paper over, looking for something I'd missed. Nothing on the back. I checked the lockbox again for anything else. Empty. I looked around the parking lot. Like maybe there was a supervisor's vehicle I'd missed. No one. Just me. A key card. And 10 words telling me to stay put until morning. Part of me wanted to get back in my car and drive away. But I thought about my bank balance. And I badged in. The door unlocked with a hard magnetic click that echoed in the empty lot. And I stepped inside.
The smell hit me first. Plastic wrap, old cardboard. Not rot, not mold, just pause. Like a shift had ended mid-motion and never came back. The lights were already on, all of them. Fluorescent strips running the entire length of the ceiling, bright enough to wash out every shadow in every aisle. No flicker, no dead bulbs. Perfect, even light. Pallet jacks were parked neatly at the ends of empty aisles, like workers had clocked out mid-task. A vending machine hummed in the corner, nothing inside except dust, and one bag of pretzels fused solid to the coil. I stood in the entrance and did what you always do at a new security post. I listened. No HVAC cycling, no traffic echoing inside, no animal sounds, no distant hum of a city. Just electricity. The kind of silence that has a texture. Heavy, intentional, like the building itself was holding its breath. I shook it off. Empty warehouses are quiet. That's normal. That's the job. I spotted the security office just inside the lobby and headed there first. Whatever was inside that room changed everything, and the night had barely started.
The security office was small. One desk, one chair, a wall of monitors already running, 6 screens showing different angles of the warehouse interior. Standard setup, nothing unusual. Until I looked closer. Every screen showed the warehouse, and every screen showed me. Walking in through the front entrance, looking up at the ceiling, pausing in the middle of the lobby. Except I was already past all of that. I was standing at the desk, looking at the screens, and the footage on those monitors was behind, minutes behind. This wasn't live feed. I watched my on-screen self badge through the front door, watched myself open the lockbox, watched myself read the note. The delay wasn't a glitch, it wasn't buffering, it was consistent, smooth playback, just minutes in the past. Which meant the cameras were recording fine, but whatever I was watching wasn't happening now. I tried to find a settings panel, a router, anything that would explain a system delay. Nothing accessible. I left the office and walked the building to clear it like protocol says you should. When I came back 15 minutes later, the screens had advanced. They now showed me doing that walkthrough, aisle by aisle. But on one screen, my on-screen self stopped in an aisle I had no memory of stopping in. He just stood there, perfectly still, waiting. When I got back to the desk, there was a clipboard I hadn't noticed before. I was certain it wasn't there when I first sat down. I picked it up. It was a sign-in sheet. Names filled in down the left column, arrival times in the next column, and then a blank column labeled departure time.
Every single departure time was empty. No one had signed out. I counted the names. 11. Different handwriting, some neat, some hurried, some so rushed the pen had torn slightly through the paper. But all of them had signed in. All of them had written an arrival time, and not one of them had ever filled in when they left. I flipped through the pages, thinking maybe there was a second sheet. Nothing. Just 11 names, 11 arrival times, 11 blank spaces where an exit should have been. I set the clipboard down and looked at the monitors. I told myself there was an explanation for everything I was seeing. Delayed feed, maybe a buffer issue with old hardware. Sign-in sheet, maybe guards never bothered filling out departures. The lights, maybe just the property manager trying to deter vandals. I was good at talking myself into calm. I was less good at staying there. Because at midnight exactly, an entire section of lights shut off.
Not flickered, not dimmed slowly. Off. One full section of the warehouse, maybe a third of the floor space, went completely dark at the stroke of midnight, like something had been scheduled. I grabbed my flashlight and checked the breaker panel near the office. Nothing had tripped. Every switch was in the on position. I stood there holding my flashlight, shining it into the newly darkened section, and told myself it was a timer. Properties get put on lighting schedules all the time. Then the radio crackled. I hadn't touched it. It was sitting on the desk in the office. I walked back and picked it up. Static. And underneath the static, breathing. Slow, steady, deliberate. Someone breathing directly into a radio channel. I pressed the talk button. Hello? Is someone on this frequency? Identify yourself. Static. More breathing. Then silence. I tried 3 more times. Nothing. I set the radio down and stood very still, listening to the warehouse around me. And from somewhere deep inside the darkened section, metal slammed against metal. One impact, loud enough to echo for 3 full seconds. I stood at the border of the lit and dark sections. Every rational instinct said stay in the light. But sitting still with that sound echoing behind me felt worse than knowing what made it. So I walked toward the dark.
The deeper I went into the darkened section, the more I noticed the small things. A pallet shifted sideways from where I'd seen it on the monitors. A door now closed that I was certain I had left open during my walkthrough. A yellow safety line painted on the floor that ended in the middle of an aisle. No wall, no hazard marker, just an abrupt stop in the middle of open space. None of it was dramatic. That was almost worse. It was incremental, quiet adjustments, like the building was rearranging itself slightly whenever I wasn't directly looking at something. I swept my flashlight across the shelving units as I moved deeper. Then I stopped. On one of the upright metal supports, the vertical beam of a shelving rack, there were marks, tally marks, carved into the metal, not painted, not written, physically carved. Hundreds of them, layered over each other so densely the metal was rough to the touch. Days, nights, hours. I crouched down to see the bottom of the upright. Below all the tallies, carved deeper than the rest,
was one word: stay. I stood up slowly and heard footsteps behind me.
Slow footsteps, measured, unhurried, like whatever was making them had no reason to rush. I turned around. At the edge of the lit section, right at the border where the light ended and the dark began, a figure was standing. Still. Completely still. Just watching. I clicked on my flashlight and aimed it directly at the figure. It didn't react to the light. Didn't raise a hand. Didn't squint. Didn't step back. Just stood there. Security, don't move. Identify yourself. Nothing. Then it stepped. Not away from me. Not toward me. Sideways. Into another aisle. Gone from view in one slow, deliberate step. I had two choices.
I grabbed the fire extinguisher off the wall bracket without thinking. Swung it hard. It connected. The thing reacted, but not like a person reacts to being hit. More like something recalibrating, correcting its balance mathematically. Then it made a sound, like a microphone shrieking into feedback. A high-pitched electronic scream that bounced off every metal shelf in the building. Then it kept coming. I ran. Behind me, doors began slamming shut, not all at once, in sequence, like they were being closed ahead of my path to cut off routes. Lights went out in sections as I moved, not behind me, but ahead of me, narrowing the lit area I could run through. The radio on my belt filled with pure static, and I realized the building wasn't trapping me. It was steering me, guiding me somewhere specific. I tried to find the front entrance, took a corner at full speed. My foot caught something on the floor. I went down hard. Shoulder hit concrete first. I heard the crack before I felt it. Then the pain came. Immediate. Total. Breathtaking. My arms stopped responding. I tried to push myself with both hands. My right arm collapsed. I rolled onto my back, and the thing was already there, standing over me, head tilted slightly, studying, giving me time. My left hand found the keycard in my pocket. I held it up. I don't know why. No conscious thought. Pure instinct. The thing paused, and behind it, somewhere in the dark, a door unlocked.
I didn't question the sound. I ran toward it. My shoulders screaming with every step, one arm completely useless. Flashlight gone somewhere on the floor behind me. The door was there. Real door. Cold metal handle. I hit it with my full body weight. It opened. Cold air. Wet pavement. Real streetlights. My car exactly where I'd left it in the lot. I ran to it, got inside, locked every door, and called 911 with shaking hands. Police arrived within minutes, EMS right behind them. They found me injured in the parking lot, shoulder fractured, heavy bruising on my side and arm. Then they walked the perimeter of the property. And when they came back to talk to me, something in their faces had shifted.
They weren't treating it like an active scene. The front gate of the property, a gate I had never seen, never encountered, was chained and padlocked from the outside. A sign on it read, "Private property, no access." The responding officer told me the power had been shut off at the meter, no active utilities on record for that building. They walked the perimeter and said the building was dark, dead, no sign anyone had been inside. At the hospital, imaging confirmed a fractured clavicle and significant bruising. The detective who followed up told me the property was registered to an LLC that had dissolved without leaving records, shell registration. The concrete pad inside had repeated anchor points, temporary installations that had been set up and removed multiple times. He called them pop-up tenants. Weeks passed, my shoulder healed, life got quieter. Until one morning the local news showed a man found injured near that same lot. Same confusion, same story, different person. I didn't go back.
I don't take listings without names anymore. That's the practical lesson, I guess. But the real thing I took away from those 3 nights, or that one night really, because I never went back for the other 2, isn't about job listings. It's about how something wrong can look almost right. The lights were on. The key card worked. The monitors were running. The sign-in sheet was there. Every piece of a legitimate operation. Just off enough to notice if you were paying attention. And I almost wasn't. I have thought a lot about that sign-in sheet. 11 names. 11 arrivals. 0 departures. I don't know what happened to those 11 people. I don't know if they got out some other way, or if they're still in there somewhere, still counting marks into a metal shelf in the dark. I don't know what that thing was, or who built it, or what the building actually wanted. I just know I got out. And I know that sometimes, when I'm driving late at night, and I pass an industrial strip, the kind you forget 2 minutes later, and I see a building lit too evenly, too deliberately, every fixture blazing at 2 a.m., with no workers, and no trucks, and no reason. I keep my eyes forward. I don't slow down. Because some places aren't abandoned. They're just between shifts, waiting for the next person desperate enough to clock in. Don't let it be you.